In the home run right now, Mr. Akande is with us in the studios. I'm sure that you must have been... Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good to see you again.
I'm sure you must have been following conversations which we had with the Reverend Father from Auchi in Edo State and also with Mr. Shinkafi, who spoke to us virtually. And with Mr. Shinkafi in particular, before now we thought we had left this phase of politics where people were alleging assassination or people were actually assassinated. But with allegations like this and with the court judgment which we saw coming all the way from Canada, you know, saying that our political parties are terrorist organizations, is it any surprise at the verdict that the Canadian court reached?
Well, I mean, I think we should, first of all, clarify what actually happened. I don't think that the federal court described both APC and PDP as terrorist organizations. I think it was specifically the membership of the Nigerian applicant who was seeking refugee status in Canada. That application was denied because he claims to be, he is a member of the PDP, and the court found that evidence that were provided by the Canadian government to say that in 2003, PDP involved in subversive and terrorism-related activities in the election in Rivers State disqualified him to be admitted into refugee status in Canada. That was exactly what the court said. So, yes, it insinuates, suggests that PDP is terrorist-based, but not APC, really, because the judge actually said that he wasn't interested in finding out whether APC is also is in the same capacity because they have enough evidence with the PDP to say that they can't allow him to refugee status in Canada because of what happened in 2003, which is a good, in my view, is useful for our politics too. I mean, it's like a weapon that we need to whip our politicians to order that some of this, their behavior is not right and they need to put their houses in order. That is the usefulness that I find in that judgment, to use it against the political elite. That look, the things that you are doing, you myself might actually be, you may have to suffer for it somewhere down the line.
Become a victim, yeah.
Yeah, because Egbare by himself, who was the applicant that went to Canada, was a member of PDP. He thought that being a member of PDP was going to help him to get the refugee status. It turns out that the guy said that, no, look, you guys in 2003, specifically in Rivers State, you know, subverted the election, and that is considered under Canadian law to be a terrorism-related activity.
And look at what we're now hearing. I mean, you heard the APC chieftain in Zamfara State alleging very categorically that a sitting minister is not mincing words about it.
Yeah.
You know, threatened or, you know, made an attempt on his life. What do you think should be the step going forward, especially with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu listening to things like this? Shouldn't there be a deeper investigation? Because a minister of government really should be above board.
Absolutely. And I think that we have gotten ourselves to a situation where anything goes in our country. You know, a country of over 200 million people, and we are making people become ministers who have corruption allegations against them by, you know, prima facie cases established by anti-corruption agencies. You know, we are choosing them to become...
That is institutions of government.
Yes, yeah. You know, we let them become ministers, and it's not starting under this administration, by the way. It also happened under the administration that I served, you know, so I'm not trying to make blames here, but I'm saying that this is what we have become as a people. You know, we have tons and tons of qualified people, but we would rather go and choose the guy who has been accused of corruption, or a guy who has, you know, violent allegations against him. Why don't we allow them to, first of all, sort themselves out before we bring them into government? Because it is becoming like, look, anything goes. You know, it doesn't matter. And this Canadian ruling is a signal to all Nigerian politicians that, look, these things that you are doing, like they say in my language, I will tell you what it says in my language and I explain it. That means that there is going to be consequences to many of this misbehavior and this conduct of Nigerian politicians. It's important to use that to tell them that, look, be very, very careful. I mean, look at what happened to Okerimadu. I mean, whoever thought that you will find a deputy senate president of Nigeria sitting pretty in a UK jail? You know, I mean, so when we urge our Nigerian politicians to clean up their acts, we are actually telling them to do what is in their enlightened best interest, enlightened self-interest. And I hope that they listen before it's too bad.
Let's talk about this U.S. visa retaliation policy.
Yeah.
So now, well, it's not surprising, is it? We kind of knew that this was going to happen eventually with the way things were going. So now, when you're trying to get that visa, you have to now think about what it is that you've been saying on social media, you know, and all of that. What do you make of the Nigerian government saying we're going to do the same?
Well, first of all, I think that it's a bit of an arrogant request because it's an invasion of people's privacy, you know, to say that you should turn off your privacy settings to which you are entitled, you know. But I guess, you know, the problem is that, you know, Nigerians also want to go to their country. I mean, you need to go to the Western embassies and see how much of our people have to arrive there by 6 a.m., 5 a.m. to be on the queues, you know, and that is the deeper problem. It is because they see the desperation of our people to go to these places that gives them the audacity to behave in that kind of a way that, I mean, the Americans will not ask the British people or anybody in Europe, you know, that kind of a request, you know, but they will ask us in Nigeria because we have not put our houses in order. But then, the right thing to do by a government is to reciprocate.
Which is so weird because, you know, whenever we have conversations with people from the American embassy, whenever we have a high commissioner from whatever country and we see these things happen, it always feels like, oh, we have a great relationship with Nigeria. Our diplomatic ties go back decades. We have a wonderful relationship together. But when it comes down to it, we see things like this.
Yeah, well, you know, so what is happening in America, which is the bigger context of it, is that you have Mr. President, Mr. Donald Trump, who is saying that, look, I don't have time for all these luxuries, you know, around the world. I want to make sure that America is mainly for Americans. You know, I want to get rid of all the non-Americans, people who are here illegally, and even legal immigration is being tightened up. And you know, the Americans have a right to decide that is how they want to run their country.
Yeah.
We are the ones that also have to decide how to restore our dignity and the dignity of our people. And that is why when we talk about, you know, sorting out our governance, it is in our best interest. We need to, I mean, people in government need to understand that the decisions that they take, they are not ordinary decisions. It affects the dignity of the average Nigerian.
Speaking about our dignity, let's talk a little bit about Tikad 9. Remember, that picture has been trending since yesterday. And we saw an onslaught of responses.
That's the picture of the president?
No, the picture of our stand at Tikad 9 in Japan that was empty. Someone put up that video, said, oh, there's no one here. People took Esta code and traveled for this thing, and the place is empty. And then, you know, it now snowballed into so many responses. But one of the good things, I think, that came out of it is the fact that Mr. Bayo Nanuga now had to outline exactly what the president is going to be doing day after day. You speak to us a little bit about that situation at Tikad.
So I think Mr. Ononuga is correct to say that the president himself is focused on specific outcomes in that conference. You know, but that does not then justify the fact that Nigeria, you know, was given a booth that turned out to be empty. So somebody dropped the ball, and there has to be consequence for that kind of a behavior, because that's an international stage. You don't behave like that. If you're not going to need a boat, then don't take one. Don't let one be put out in the name of Nigeria if there are no plans for people to be there when they ought to be there. Except we are saying that nobody told us about it. They just went to open a booth. You know, so Ononuga is correct to say that Mr. President shouldn't have to worry about that actually, but there are people whose job it is, whose duty it is to make sure that that booth is occupied.
So, before we came on air, just so we can get him to talk about that, before we came on air, we were talking about the concept of even having conferences about Africa, and then all African presidents traveling from Africa, going to Japan, to China, to India for one conference or the other. We've heard what's it, Paul Kagame speak up again, say, why are we doing this? Why are African conferences being held abroad? Why are they not being held in Africa?
Yeah, well, you know, same whole question of the dignity, you know, where we have come to as a people. I mean, you see the American president will summon leaders from Africa, you know, about 15, 20 of them, you know, and you wonder, okay, well, aren't presidents supposed to be equal? You know, it doesn't seem...
Presidents are equal, but some are more equal than others.
We also encourage it by
Indeed.
the kind of response that we give.
Indeed. Let me quickly take you up on this issue of and it's a local matter right now, coming from the international arena to what is happening, brewing locally. I don't know whether they're just seeking relevance or they're seeking to be in the news. The Alaafin and the Ooni, I don't know. As a proper Ibadan man yourself, yes. You know where you're capped today.
You know, I think it's better like that so that I can speak this.
Are you going to be unbiased in your comments, in your commentary?
Certainly, the fact of the matter of, perhaps the first thing to say is that the Alaafin-Ooni and the Ooni of Ife, these are revered, you know, stools that every Yoruba man looks up to, you know, and that we honor and that we continue to honor. But I think specifically, in my own view, we need to go back to the days of illustrious Obas, like the Ooni of Ife Oba Disoji Aderemi. That was an illustrious king, you know. I mean, I don't think that we have been able in recent times to have in positions, you know, Obas like Disoji Aderemi, you know, who had class, you know, who had grace, panache, you know, intellectually sound, you know, and also with very considerable political connections with people like Chief Obafemi Awolowo. But having said that, the truth of the matter is that the Alaafin is correct to say that it's only the Alaafin that is permitted, even by tradition and by history, to appoint a Yoruba-wide chieftaincy. Okay? And in 1991 specifically, I remember, specifically in 1991, the then Ooni of Ife, Oba Olubushe, wanted to make Tom Ikimi, who was the chairman of the NLC then, wanted to make him the Akinrogun of Yoruba land. I mean, this is the Ooni of Ife wanted to do that. And the Alaafin of Oyo then, Oba Adeyemi, wrote to Governor Adisa, who was the military governor in Oyo State, said that no, you can't do that. You know, and he quoted relevant portions of the history to say that Ife people don't even used to go to war because Ife was our spiritual source, and the Alaafin and the Badons were responsible for the defense of Ife. So where is this idea of appointing an Akinrogun who is like a commander, a Balogun for Ife? Then in any case, if we want to do it, it can only do it for Ife. If he chooses to, it can't be for Yoruba land. And the governor, to his credit, Governor Adisa, told the Ooni that he couldn't do that, and he stopped. So the Alaafin is correct to say that the Ooni of Ife cannot appoint a Yoruba-wide. And I think the Ooni of Ife also said that that's not what he did, that he was just having fun.
Mr. Akande, we're totally out of time, but I imagine that people should be, you know, taking an interest in history. And we will hope to see how this eventually pans out. But thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.
Mr. Akande is a former presidential aide and also the presenter of Inside Sources.